500 million?
Yeah.
Like, that is the number of copies sold globally since 1997.
It's just wild.
Translated into over 80 different languages, I believe.
Right.
It's a number that completely shatters, the normal metrics of publishing success.
Oh, absolutely. It's in a league of its own.
Yeah, we aren't just talking about a hit book series here, or like a blockbuster film franchise.
No, not at all.
We are talking about a foundational text for a genuinely measurable percentage of the human population.
Yeah, it genuinely forces you to, well, reevaluate what a piece of fiction can actually achieve.
Right.
Because when a narrative permeates the global consciousness to that degree,
It becomes something else.
exactly, it transcends the label of a simple story and becomes a shared mythology.
A shared mythology. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking at a boy who lived in a cupboard.
Under the stairs.
Right. An image of total, complete isolation.
Yeah.
And his journey somehow managed to capture the collective imagination of, the entire planet.
It's crazy to think about.
And the reason for that extraordinary resonance isn't actually the spectacle of the spells or like the fantastical creatures.
Right, because if it were just about flashy magical battles, 100 other fantasy series would have achieved the exact same status.
Precisely. The staying power lies in its intricate, uncompromising balance of light and dark.
Yeah.
It operates as a profoundly detailed mirror of real-world human struggles.
Like what, specifically?
Well, class division, systemic prejudice, the terror of mortality,
Oh.
the burden of choice.
Yeah.
All of it is just, dressed up in robes and wands.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that mirror.
Let's do it.
Because for you listening right now, this deep dive is a mission.
A very detailed mission.
Yes. We are going to explore the foundational history and the sociological structure of Hogwarts.
Right.
We are going to unpack the incredibly complex, often deeply uncomfortable moral choices of its most iconic characters.
The really messy stuff.
Exactly. And we're going to break down the actual functional mechanics of how magic operates in this universe.
Which is fascinating on its own.
It really is. And finally, we are going to explore how this massive fictional legacy continues to aggressively manifest in our physical, real world today.
But, to understand any of that, we have to start at the entry point.
The very beginning.
Yeah, we have to look at the threshold.
Exactly, because this world isn't set in, like, a distant galaxy.
Or a fictionalized Middle Earth.
Right. It is physically situated in the UK, deeply embedded within the mundane geography of the 1990s.
Very grounded.
Yeah, the journey into the magical world begins at King's Cross Station in London.
Specifically, the barrier between platforms 9 and 10.
Right, and every September 1st, students make this journey.
Yeah.
And the visual is so jarringly specific. You've got a mundane luggage trolley stacked with vintage leather trunks.
And a brass birdcage perched on top.
Yes, passing exactly halfway through a solid Victorian brick wall.
The location of that threshold is completely deliberate.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. It's right in the middle of a bustling, incredibly busy London transit hub.
Yeah, that's true.
The implication is profound when you think about it. Magic exists entirely parallel to our everyday, ordinary reality.
Next to us.
Exactly. Muggle commuters, people rushing to work, stressed about their mortgages, they were walking mere inches away from this monumental magical gateway.
Every single second of the day.
Yeah.
Completely blind to it.
I always find myself getting stuck on the mechanics of that barrier.
Also,
Well, is passing through that solid brick wall just like a magical physical doorway? Or is it functioning as a psychological filter?
oh, that's a great question.
Because, you have to run at a solid brick wall. Does the magical world demand that you fundamentally break your own cognitive framework, actively leaving mundane logic behind, before it even allows you to enter?
Well, intent is the governing physics of this entire universe.
Yeah. You cannot accidentally stumble onto platform 9 3/4.
So no leaning against the wall and oops, I'm in.
Exactly. You can't just fall through. You have to move toward it with the absolute, unwavering conviction that you will not crash.
Wow.
And that requires a total, localized destruction of your everyday logic.
Yeah.
It demands that you accept the extraordinary as literal reality.
So it's like a test of faith before the school year even begins.
It acts as an active psychological sorting mechanism.
That is so cool.
Right. You have to leave your mundane assumptions, the rules of physics, the boundaries of reality on platform 9.
Yeah.
When you emerge on 9 3/4, your mind is primed to accept the impossible.
You have crossed the Rubicon.
Beautifully put, yes.
And once you push through that psychological and physical barrier, the transition continues.
Right, you were greeted by the Hogwarts Express.
A deep, crimson red, classic steam train billowing white smoke.
Such an iconic image.
It really is. And it doesn't just act as a shuttle, it journeys over this massive, sweeping stone viaduct.
With those huge arches cutting through lush, untamed mountains.
Exactly. It serves as both the literal and the metaphorical bridge to Hogwarts.
Look at the environmental transition happening there, though.
What do you mean?
Well, you start in the dense, hyper-industrial heart of urban London.
Right. King's Cross.
And you board a piece of industrial-era technology, a steam train.
Okay, yeah.
But that train takes you deeper and deeper into raw, untamed nature.
Oh, I see where you're going.
It pulls the students away from modern civilization,
Hmm.
moving geographically northward, but psychologically it's moving backward in time.
Until they reach a destination that is completely divorced from the modern timeline.
Exactly. It's a massive decompression chamber.
Which brings us to the destination at the end of that track.
Right.
Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
A castle.
Built over 1,000 years ago. And when you look at the architectural design, it is an imposing, towering structure.
Built right onto the edge of a cliff.
Illuminated against the dark sky. And, you know, the interior design is just as intentionally disorienting.
Oh, very much so.
You've got moving grand staircases that actively shift their paths while you are walking on them.
Which is terrifying if you think about it too long.
Seriously. And countless oil portraits of historical figures who move, observe, and literally talk back to you.
Yes.
And then there's the Great Hall, where the ceiling is enchanted to perfectly reflect the actual weather and sky outside.
Let's isolate that ceiling for a moment.
Sure.
Because it is a brilliant piece of environmental philosophy.
Really? How so?
Well, the founders of the school took a massive enclosed stone room, the central gathering place for the entire society,
Right.
and completely removed the visual limitation of a roof.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It blurs the boundary between the man-made institution and the infinite natural world.
That's a really beautiful way to look at it.
It's a daily subconscious reminder to the students sitting at those long tables, a reminder that their potential and the scope of their magic isn't capped by the physical structures built around them.
That is fascinating. But, you know, while they're sitting under that infinite sky, they are rigidly divided.
Into the 4 very distinct houses.
Yes. And this is where the sociology of Hogwarts gets incredibly dense.
That's a whole sociological study.
It really is. You have Gryffindor, valuing bravery, Slytherin, defined by ambition.
Ravenclaw, prioritizing intelligence.
Right. And Hufflepuff, anchored by loyalty. And this categorization happens when they are, 11 years old?
11, yes.
That is so young.
It is one of the most hotly debated aspects of this world's sociology.
I can imagine.
They are taking children who have barely reached adolescence and legally binding their social, academic, and psychological development to a single foundational character trait.
Which is just wild to me. Not their magical aptitude,
Right.
not their academic test scores, their core temperament. I really struggle with the determinism of that.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Because you're effectively taking an 11-year-old and telling them, you are ambitious, and therefore you will sleep in the dungeon with other ambitious people for the next 7 years.
Right down in the dark.
Doesn't that create an incredibly dangerous self-fulfilling prophecy?
Oh, entirely.
If you tell a child their defining trait is cunning and ambition, and you isolate them with an echo chamber of peers validated for the same traits, aren't you just mass-producing Machiavellian adults?
Well, the risk of creating echo chambers is definitely the flaw in the system.
Yeah.
And the history of the school absolutely bears out the consequences of that segregation, particularly with Slytherin.
For sure.
But if we look at the theoretical intent behind the founders' design,
What were they actually going for?
it was about creating a macro ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
By isolating these distinct values, bravery, ambition, intelligence, loyalty, they ensured that these traits were constantly interacting.
Interacting, competing,
Exactly. Competing and balancing each other out on a societal level.
like a controlled sociological experiment.
That's exactly it. It's a microcosm of human society.
I see.
If an entire society was composed only of Gryffindors, you'd have a culture of foolish, unregulated, reckless behavior.
Just constant warfare.
Basically, yes.
Mm.
And if it was only Ravenclaws, you might have brilliant theoretical advancements.
But no one actually doing anything.
Right. They might completely lack the loyalty or the aggressive ambition to implement those ideas practically.
That makes a lot of sense.
The house system, theoretically, forces these contrasting human elements to share a singular space and compete for the same resources.
And that competition bleeds into every single aspect of their daily life.
Oh, absolutely. Everything.
They are studying incredibly volatile disciplines: transfiguration, potions, defensive magic.
Very dangerous stuff.
And they also have this massive institutionalized sports culture in Quidditch.
Which is a whole other level of intense.
Seriously. Played in a massive stadium, towering golden hoops, brutal physical contact at high altitudes.
Yeah, it acts as this vital pressure valve for the school.
Right. It's not all just studying ancient texts in dusty libraries. There is a vibrant, aggressive, physical reality to their existence.
It grounds the fantasy.
Yeah.
It gives the students a mundane, recognizable obsession amidst the extraordinary reality of their education.
But interspersed with this vibrant, youthful life is a constant, lingering presence of mortality.
The ghosts.
Yes, the ghosts roaming the halls of Hogwarts.
They're not just atmospheric world building.
No, they are a specific, terrifying philosophical concept.
Very terrifying.
They are former witches and wizards who explicitly chose not to pass on.
That element of choice changes everything.
How so?
Well, becoming a ghost in this universe is not a punishment handed down by a higher power.
Right, it's not purgatory.
Exactly. It is a conscious, active decision made out of an overwhelming fear of death, or a paralyzing attachment to the physical world. They are imprints, echoes of souls that looked at the unknown of death and refused to take the next step.
It introduces this idea very early on that death is the central, unavoidable theme of this entire universe.
Absolutely.
How a character responds to their own mortality ultimately defines their entire existence.
And it also sets the foundation for how magic actually operates.
Wait, how does the ghost's fear of death connect to the mechanics of magic?
Because magic is not merely a utility. It is deeply tied to the soul, the psyche, and the emotional state of the caster.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that magic then, because it isn't just a raw electrical current that anyone can plug into.
Right, it's not just energy.
Spells utilize Latin roots, which grounds the magic in ancient human linguistic history.
Yes.
But the fundamental law is that magic is deeply influenced and often completely gated by the user's emotion and intent.
It completely rejects the mechanical view of fantasy systems.
Like treating magic like a machine.
Exactly. You cannot just wave a wand, perfectly enunciate a Latin phrase, and expect a flawless result.
Even if you do the physical motions perfectly.
Right. If your mind and heart are fragmented or unaligned with the action, it won't work. The magic demands emotional authenticity.
And the ultimate proof of that is the Patronus charm.
Oh, the perfect example.
It is the purest example of emotion and intent acting as the engine for magic.
Yes, it is.
It's a defensive spell used to repel Dementors. And for those listening, Dementors are creatures that literally feed on human despair. They force you to relive your worst traumas.
Horrifying creatures.
To fight them, the wizard has to cast a Patronus, which takes the physical form of an animal reflecting the caster's inner self.
Right.
Harry Potter's Patronus takes the form of a stag.
The mechanics of casting a Patronus are absolutely fascinating from a psychological standpoint.
How exactly does it work in the mind?
To manifest that protective animal, the wizard must intensely focus on a single, profoundly happy memory.
Okay.
They have to hold on to that joy while staring directly at a creature that induces absolute despair.
That sounds almost impossible. It's essentially weaponized joy.
That is exactly what it is. Weaponized joy.
Wow.
It proves that in this world, light magic isn't just a blast of energy.
Right.
It is a pure reflection of identity, emotional truth, and the active resistance against depression and trauma.
The magic requires you to know who you are and what you value.
Absolutely.
Which perfectly transitions us into the most iconic tool used to channel that identity, the wand.
The wand chooses the wizard.
Yes. The lore establishes a very strict rule there. It's an idea that completely shifts the power dynamic between the human and the tool.
It does.
You know, I often think about this in relation to high-end musical instruments.
Like what?
Well, if a wand chooses the wizard, is it functioning like a Stradivarius violin?
Okay, I see where you're going.
Like a masterful instrument that possesses such specific resonance and physical memory that it simply refuses to play a beautiful melody unless it fundamentally respects the person holding the bow.
The Stradivarius analogy is incredibly apt. Yeah. A master-crafted violin has its own internal physics, its own history, and it responds to the micro movements of the player.
Right.
In this universe, a wand is constructed with a specific wood and a highly volatile magical core,
Like a dragon heartstring.
or a phoenix feather,
Yeah.
or a unicorn hair.
Yeah.
It is not an inert piece of wood. It is a semi-sentient object.
So it requires a symbiotic relationship.
Completely symbiotic. If you win a wand in combat, its allegiance might shift.
That's sure, the rules of conquest.
Right. But if you simply force a borrowed or stolen wand to work for you, the magic is stunted.
It won't give you its full power.
Exactly. The wand and the wizard have to be in perfect harmony. The internal volatility of the core must align with the psychological volatility of the caster.
Okay, so having established the architecture of the world, the sociology of the school, and the emotional physics of the magic.
We have to introduce the central conflict.
Yes, the conflict that violently disrupts all of it. We have to look at the boy at the center of the narrative and immediately juxtapose him with the darkness he is forced to confront.
The dichotomy between Harry Potter and Lord Voldemort.
It is the engine that drives the entire mythology.
It is. It's a deeply layered study in contrasting responses to trauma.
Let's analyze Harry's origins first.
Okay.
He is completely severed from this magical world for the first decade of his life.
Entirely.
He is raised by the fiercely non-magical Dursley family, living in a literal cupboard under the stairs.
Which is just awful.
He is subjected to systemic neglect and emotional abuse.
Yeah.
But in the hidden magical world, he is a messianic figure.
He is the boy who lived.
Exactly. The only recorded survivor of the killing curse.
He is marked by extreme trauma from the moment of his cognitive development.
Right.
The killing curse, which leaves the iconic lightning bolt scar on his forehead, is the ultimate manifestation of dark magic.
And to survive it is not just rare.
No, it is considered a fundamental impossibility. It shatters the known laws of their universe.
And the architect of that shattered law is Lord Voldemort.
The Dark Lord.
The psychology of this character is chillingly precise.
Very.
He leads the Death Eaters, he desires pure blood supremacy, and he utilizes terrorism. But his core motivation is far more primal.
Yes, it is.
His chosen name, Voldemort, roughly translates from French to flight from death.
Which tells you everything you need to know.
Right. His entire ideology is built on the notophobia. He fears death above absolutely everything else.
This is the absolute crux of his character. Everything
Yeah.
Voldemort does, the racism, the murders, the accumulation of power,
It's all a symptom.
it is merely a symptom of his terror of mortality.
Wow.
This fear is so profound, so consuming, that it drove him to commit the most unspeakable acts in magical theory.
The intentional splitting of his own soul.
The Horcruxes, yes.
Yeah.
He murders in order to fracture his soul, housing those torn fragments into physical objects to anchor himself to the living world.
It's terrifying.
He is willing to entirely destroy his own humanity, to exist as an emotionally mutilated, snake-like entity, simply to avoid the natural, inevitable end of life.
Because he views death as a humiliating human weakness rather than a natural progression.
Exactly.
And the physical and psychological connection between Harry and Voldemort is inescapable.
Not just a hero chasing a villain.
No, they are bound together. When they duel, their magical energies literally connect in midair.
Locking their lands together.
Because their wands share the exact same magical core, a single tail feather from the exact same phoenix.
Yes.
Furthermore, Harry's lightning bolt scar acts as a direct, non-consensual mental tether to Voldemort's mind.
They are inextricably linked on a molecular level.
Yeah.
The hero and the villain draw their kinetic power from the exact same source. The phoenix feather, representing rebirth, fire, and endurance. It resonates in both of their hands.
That is so deeply symbolic.
And because Voldemort's soul was so unstable, so fragmented when he attempted to murder Harry as an infant,
Right, what happened?
a piece of his soul sheared off and latched onto the only living thing in the room, which was Harry.
Creating that mental link through the scar.
Precisely.
Let me stop you right there.
Sure.
Because this is where the morality of the story gets very murky for me.
Okay, let's hear it.
If their wands are essentially magical twins,
Right.
and they share a literal piece of the exact same soul through the scar,
Yeah.
and both of them are orphans who grew up in hostile, loveless, isolated environments,
Very true.
aren't Harry and Voldemort actually just two sides of the exact same coin?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't Harry just Voldemort with a better PR team and a more supportive social circle?
That is a phenomenal observation.
Right.
And it is the exact psychological tension the narrative demands you wrestle with.
Okay, so I'm not crazy for thinking that.
Not at all. Their origins, their magical potential, and their capacity for rule-breaking are frighteningly identical.
They really are.
But your point about the social circle, the support system,
Yeah.
that is the defining variable in the equation.
Yes.
Well, Voldemort responded to his childhood trauma by entirely isolating himself. He demanded subservience, not friendship.
Right. He had followers, not friends.
Exactly. He trusted no one, believing attachment was a vulnerability.
While Harry leaned into attachment.
Exactly. Harry survived the insurmountable odds solely because he allowed himself to be loved, to be vulnerable, and to be supported by others.
He didn't view friendship as a weakness.
No, he viewed it as a necessary survival mechanism.
Which pulls us right into the next major architectural pillar of this universe, the triad.
Yet the trio.
Because answering the question of what separates Harry from Voldemort ultimately comes down to his friends. The narrative aggressively dismantles the myth of the solitary, rugged hero who conquers the mountain all by himself.
Completely subverts it.
Harry's life is consistently, repeatedly saved by the people around him.
The lone hero trope is entirely subverted here. Harry possesses immense bravery and phenomenal instinct.
Yeah.
But academically and strategically, he is often vastly outmatched by the forces he faces.
He really is.
He relies entirely on a collective strength.
Let's dissect the other two pillars of that collective strength, Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley.
Let's do it.
Hermione represents the ultimate intellect. She is recognized as one of the most powerful, gifted, and relentlessly prepared witches of her age.
She's the mind of the operation.
Absolutely. And then you have Ron Weasley. He isn't a prodigy.
No, he's not.
But he comes from a large, chaotic, deeply loving wizarding family. He provides the grounding.
The fierce loyalty.
Yes, and the intuitive connection to the everyday wizarding culture that Harry and Hermione, who both grew up in the Muggle world, completely lack.
If we map out their group dynamic, they represent a perfectly stabilized ecosystem.
Break that down for me.
Hermione is the mind. Logic, historical context, preparation, and immense magical execution.
Okay.
Ron is the heart. Loyalty, systemic understanding of the wizarding world, emotional grounding, and the willingness to sacrifice.
And Harry?
Harry is the action, the intuition, the bravery, and the willingness to step directly into the line of fire.
It's like an atomic structure.
Exactly.
If you remove one proton, the entire element destabilizes.
It falls apart entirely.
Without Hermione's mind, Harry and Ron literally do not survive the lethal magical traps and puzzles they face in their first year alone.
They simply wouldn't know the theory required to escape.
Right. And without Ron's heart and the surrogate family he extends to Harry, Harry has absolutely no personal tether to this magical world.
He would have no community to actually fight for.
So what does that do to the traditional concept of the chosen one archetype that dominates Western fantasy?
Oh, it shatters it.
It really does. It redefines the chosen one not as a solitary, godlike figure endowed with supreme power.
But it's a highly visible focal point for a community's collective resistance.
Yes. Harry is the tip of the spear, yes. But Hermione, Ron, his teachers, and his allies are the dense shaft of the spear, providing the mass and the force driving it forward.
The archetype shifts from solitary destiny to collective action.
It is a much more realistic, sociologically sound portrayal of how systemic evil is actually defeated.
It is never one person. It is a network.
But, even this incredibly resilient triad isn't navigating the darkness of their world alone.
No, they have a lot of guidance.
They are shaped, guided, and, quite frankly, heavily manipulated by the adults surrounding them.
Manipulated is definitely the right word.
Which brings us to a massive component of our deep dive: the mentors, the shadows, and the intensely complex morality of the adults at Hogwarts.
This is undoubtedly the richest, most mature vein of the entire lore.
I totally agree.
Because as the readers and the characters age, the adults in this world cease to be simple, one-dimensional, infallible guides.
They lose that perfect shine.
Exactly. They are revealed to be deeply flawed individuals operating in vast, terrifying areas of moral gray.
Let's start with the two most prominent mentors in Harry's life. We have Rubeus Hagrid, the half-giant gamekeeper.
Right.
He is the one who physically extracts Harry from the Muggle world.
He represents unyielding warmth, fierce physical protection, and a deep, empathetic love for misunderstood monsters.
Yes. And then we have Albus Dumbledore, the headmaster.
A very different kind of mentor.
a legendary mythical figure who is so magically powerful that he famously defeated a global dark wizard decades before Voldemort even rose to power.
Their mentorship styles are completely polarized.
How so?
While Hagrid operates on pure emotion, empathy, and instinct. He is incredibly loyal, but he is not a strategist. He lacks foresight.
Right. He often acts without thinking.
Exactly. Dumbledore, conversely, is the ultimate grand strategist.
He's always playing the long game.
Always. He is a man who has lived through multiple global wizarding wars. He has seen the horrors of totalitarianism firsthand,
Yeah.
and he has conditioned himself to make horrifying, cold calculations for the greater good.
And complicating this moral landscape even further are the characters who operate on the fringes.
The outsiders.
Characters who aren't traditional mentors, but whose moral choices define the outcome of the war.
Right.
We need to talk about Dobby and Severus Snape.
Two very different but equally crucial characters.
Let's start with Dobby. He is a house elf, a magically enslaved race.
Yeah.
Yet he represents pure freedom and unyielding radical loyalty.
He is a creature who willingly breaks the magical laws of his own brutal enslavement simply to protect Harry.
It's incredible.
Dobby is the absolute embodiment of innocence trapped within a deeply corrupt, systemic institution.
Yeah.
His morality is incredibly pure and localized. He simply wants to protect his friend, regardless of the immense physical punishment he knows he will endure for rebelling.
It's heartbreaking, really. But then there is Severus Snape.
Ah, Snape. Arguably the most fiercely debated character in modern literature.
Without a doubt, he is visually coded as a villain, standing in shadowy dungeon classrooms.
Draped in heavy black robes.
Utilizing cruelty and intimidation. He is a former Death Eater. He is deeply bitter.
Yes.
But if we look closer...
If we put Snape and Dumbledore side by side, they provide the ultimate contrast in moral philosophies.
How would you describe that contrast?
Well, Dumbledore operates on a utilitarian, historical scale. He is playing multi-generational geopolitical chess against the darkest forces in the world.
And to win a game of chess.
You have to be willing to sacrifice your own pieces,
Wow.
even pieces you love. Dumbledore is willing to maneuver a teenage boy toward his likely execution in order to save the majority of the population.
While Snape operates entirely in the emotional shadows.
Yes.
His motivations aren't about saving the wizarding world on a grand, noble scale. He doesn't care about the geopolitical chessboard.
Not at all.
His actions are driven by intensely personal, often incredibly bitter, but fiercely protective emotions.
His entire morality is tethered to a specific lifelong guilt
Right.
and an obsessive love for a woman who has been dead for over a decade.
I really want to push on the classic wise, benevolent mentor trope here.
Please do.
Looking at the reality of their actions, doesn't Dumbledore's focus on the big picture actually make him vastly more dangerous and manipulative than a character like Snape?
That's a strong statement.
Well, think about it. Snape might be objectively cruel to children in a classroom setting,
Very cruel.
but is his raw, highly personal, localized morality actually more honest than Dumbledore's grand, secretive machinations where human lives are just mathematical variable?
It is a profound, deeply unsettling question.
It bothers me a lot.
Dumbledore's utilitarianism, the philosophy that the ends completely justify the means, is chilling when you realize it involves grooming a child for
It's
sacrifice.
horrific.
And Dumbledore lies by omission constantly.
Yes.
Snape's cruelty, on the other hand, is overt. He doesn't hide his bitterness.
What you see is what you get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yet his
Duh.
ultimate loyalty to his specific personal vow is completely unwavering.
It forces the audience to ask a really tough question.
What is more existentially terrifying? A cruel, damaged man who is entirely honest about his resentments.
Or a kind, soft-spoken man who hides his lethal calculations behind a grandfatherly smile and a twinkle in his eye.
Exact.
It completely deconstructs the idea of good and bad adults.
It forces the reader to realize that doing the right thing on a macro scale often requires doing a terrible thing on a micro scale.
And it's exactly that density, that moral complexity and psychological richness, that has caused this story to completely hemorrhage out of the pages and colonize our actual physical reality.
Because the real-world footprint of this lore is staggering.
It is unprecedented in the history of literature.
We aren't just talking about passive consumption anymore.
Like buying an action figure or wearing a branded t-shirt.
No, we are talking about the physical, spatial recreation of the lore.
The theme parks.
Yes, the desire of millions of people to physically occupy a fictional space.
Which brings us to the Universal Studios theme parks. the wizarding world of Harry Potter.
Have you been?
I have. And the level of immersion they have engineered is genuinely mind-bending.
It's incredible.
They didn't just build a standard roller coaster and slap a lightning bolt logo on the side.
Far from it.
They structurally engineered Diagon Alley. You walk through a brick wall and enter an environment with vibrant, glowing storefronts.
Impossibly crooked architecture built to exact cinematic specifications.
Yes. There is a massive, incredibly realistic dragon perched atop Gringotts Bank.
That breathes actual physical fire into the sky.
It's so hot you can literally feel it on your face from the street below.
You know, what the designers at Universal recognized was that the core appeal of this franchise wasn't just the plot points.
What was it?
It was the intense universal desire to exist within the sociological space. They utilized experiential storytelling.
Right.
They built a hyper-reality where the mundane world of the theme park, the parking lots, the Florida highways, is completely blocked out by towering facades.
Allowing visitors to cross their own physical threshold, their own platform 9 3/4.
Exactly.
And they made the fictional magic physically consumable.
The food.
Yes. You can walk up to a wooden cart and purchase a butterbeer, served in a heavy, frothy mug, engineered to taste exactly as the text described it.
It's brilliant marketing.
You can buy chocolate frogs that come with the pentagonal wizard trading cards.
That's like in the books.
You can even buy Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans, where you are legitimately risking eating a jelly bean engineered by food scientists to taste exactly like dirt or soap or vomit.
Which is a terrifying level of commitment to the source material.
It really is. By making these completely fictional, textual items physically consumable, they collapse the dimensional distance between the reader and the text.
It is a masterful manipulation of sensory reality.
Absolutely.
You aren't just observing the magic on a screen. You are tasting the world. You are feeling the weight of the wands in your hand.
You are strapped into ride mechanisms that perfectly simulate the biomechanics of flying on a broomstick.
It is the ultimate realization of fan desire.
It is a total multi-sensory takeover.
Yeah.
But the legacy of this world isn't just locked in theme park engineering.
No, it's constantly expanding.
It is actively preparing to mutate and conquer a new medium.
The HBO series.
Yes, a massive new adaptation is currently in development at HBO. And the strategic approach they are taking is absolutely fascinating.
It really is.
They are reportedly dedicating an entire full season of high-budget television to each individual book.
Which is a huge commitment.
The stated goal is a highly accurate, long-form retelling of the original text, utilizing a completely new cast to introduce the entire mythology to a new generation.
This represents a massive shift in how we adapt modern mythology.
How so?
Well, the original film franchise, as successful as it was, suffered from the sheer constraints of the medium.
Right, time limits.
Exactly. They had to ruthlessly compress hundreds of pages of intricate lore.
The nuanced mechanics of magic.
The sprawling house histories.
Yeah.
The incredibly complex moral gray areas of the adult characters.
All squeezed into strictly paced 2-hour cinematic windows.
Right. But a serialized premium television format allows the narrative ecology to actually breathe.
They can spend an entire episode just exploring the psychology of the Hogwarts ghosts.
Or the racial tensions between wizards and house elves.
Exactly. It allows them to explore the daily academic life, the peripheral characters.
And the agonizingly slow burn of Snape and Dumbledore's moral compromises.
In the exact depth that the novels originally provided.
Yeah.
I do have a philosophical question about that, though.
Sure. What is it?
By adapting the books on a 1-to-1 scale in this massive, highly detailed, visually perfect TV show,
Yeah.
do we risk atrophying the magic of our own collective imagination?
Oh, that's an interesting point.
When we read the books, we had to actively participate in the creation of the world. We had to visualize the scope of the Great Hall.
We had to imagine the terrifying resonance of a spell.
Right. We had to construct the faces of the characters in our own minds.
Yeah.
If HBO visualizes every single minute detail perfectly for us, leaving literally nothing to the imagination, are we losing a vital component of the magic? Or is this simply the modern digital equivalent of passing down an ancient myth around a campfire, adapting the delivery mechanism so the story doesn't die out?
I strongly lean toward the latter.
You think so?
I do. For a story to remain a living mythology, it must continuously evolve in its medium to survive in the broader culture.
That makes sense.
The oral tradition of Homer evolved into the written word. The written word evolved into the theater. Theater evolved into two-hour cinema.
And now cinema is evolving into long-form, serialized television.
Exactly. The core architecture of the myth, the universal themes of love, systemic corruption, the burden of choice, and the confrontation with mortality, they remain perfectly intact.
The medium simply shifts to meet the audience where they are currently gathered.
And today, the global campfire is the premium television screen.
That makes perfect sense. So looking back at the massive architecture we've deconstructed today,
We covered a lot of ground.
we really did. We started with a staggering 500 million copies, a global phenomenon.
We analyzed the psychological threshold of Platform 9 3/4, demanding a leap of faith to leave the mundane world behind.
We explored a 1,000-year-old castle that institutionalizes human traits.
Separating children into houses of bravery, ambition, intelligence, and loyalty to create a balanced, yet volatile, societal ecosystem.
We examined the emotional physics of magic, how casting a Patronus or wielding a wand isn't just a utility, but a profound reflection of identity.
Requiring perfect psychological synergy and emotional authenticity.
We saw how Harry and Voldemort are intrinsically linked by trauma and shared magical cores.
Yet wildly divergent based on their capacity to accept love and build a community.
We deconstructed the triad, Hermione's mind, Ron's heart, and Harry's action.
Proving that systemic evil is never defeated by a lone hero, but by a balanced network.
And we navigated the incredibly murky, uncomfortable moral waters of mentors like Dumbledore, who coldly plays geopolitical chess with human lives.
And Snape, who operates in the shadows driven by a deeply personal, obsessive, and bitter love.
And finally, we tracked how this dense psychological world has physically manifested in billion-dollar theme parks.
Creating hyper-real spaces for experiential storytelling.
And how it is preparing to evolve once again through a massive television adaptation for a new era.
Which brings us to the true, enduring theme of this entire universe.
What would you say that is?
When you strip away the dragons, the spells, and the castles, the foundational thesis is incredibly simple.
Okay.
Our abilities, our magical aptitudes, and the traits we are born with do not define who we are.
It is our choices.
Yes. Magic truly lives where imagination meets courage. It wasn't the Latin incantations or the specific wood of the wands that defeated the darkness.
It was a relentless series of agonizing choices.
The choice to step in front of a friend.
The choice to resist power.
The choice to face the unknown without a guarantee of survival.
It is the ultimate assertion of free will over determinism.
Absolutely. Every single character, from the most courageous Gryffindor to the most morally compromised Slytherin, is ultimately defined not by their sordid house.
But by the specific decisions they make when all their power is stripped away.
Perfectly said.
Which leaves me with one final, deeply provocative thought for you to ponder long after this deep dive ends.
I love these final thoughts.
We've spent a lot of time establishing that magic in this universe is deeply influenced by human emotion and intent.
We have.
And we know from the sociology of Hogwarts that the ghosts are simply witches and wizards who, out of paralyzing fear or deep material attachment, chose not to pass on when they died.
Right. They violently resisted the natural end.
Yes, they forced their consciousness to remain in a liminal state out of sheer terror.
A terrible existence, really.
Right. And then we have Lord Voldemort, the ultimate villain.
The Dark Lord himself.
A man whose entire existence, whose literal chosen name, was a flight from death.
Yeah.
If his ultimate evil was defined by his terror of mortality,
Yeah.
driving him to mutilate his soul, and the ghosts of Hogwarts are defined by their terrified refusal to accept death.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Is it possible that the deepest, most foundational magic in this entire universe isn't spells or potions or even wands?
What is it then?
Is the core primal magic of this world simply the human ego resisting the natural order of the universe?
Wow.
And if so, are the heroes, the ghosts, and the Dark Lord actually all fighting the exact same desperate battle against human mortality, just choosing completely different weapons and philosophies to wage it?
That is an incredibly haunting observation.
It really makes you think.
It suggests that the dividing line between a benign, transparent ghost floating in a hallway and an apocalyptic Dark Lord is simply a matter of scale.
Scale, ambition, and destructive capability.
But the underlying engine, the absolute terror of the unknown void, is identical.
Exactly. You know, usually when we talk about fantasy, we expect a clean, magical diagnosis of good and evil.
A rigid binary.
Right. You cast a dark green spell, you are bad. You cast a light blue spell, you are good. We crave that precision.
We want things to be easily categorized. It's comforting.
It's why the concept of the four houses is so appealing on a surface level.
Yes, it puts everyone in a neat little box.
But the moment you step past the threshold, the moment you look at the tragic stagnation of the ghosts, the agonizing moral compromises of Dumbledore, and the bitter sacrifices of Snape,
That comforting precision completely evaporates.
it does. We aren't looking at a fairy tale.
Not at all.
We're looking at a moral landscape that is beautifully, fundamentally, and terrifyingly murky,
We're all just walking in the dark.
hoping the tools we hold have truly chosen us for the right reasons.